three more speakers that are coming through. But I think first let's hand over to the school principal. He's been on for quite a while. He says I mustn't call him sir. We all grew up calling principal sir. Garth Shaw. He called me yesterday. I think we had a chat and wanted to do a video. And I said, listen, if you're going to speak for 4 or 5 minutes, I think just rather join the call. Really a privilege to have you, and looking forward to hearing the very little introduction. But I do know very personally that there was a lot of big plans, and Kaunda really wanted to give back to the school. So very fitting for you to join us, sir. Thank you for joining us. And then I won't say a word, just switch right over to Ngange, who will just also speak on behalf of himself and friends, but also played with Kaunda at Ubumbo, not just at high school. And Ngange will just conclude. And then, of course, we'll just hear a few words from the family. And then, of course, none other than Umakesh will close off for us. So we're nearly there. But firstly, over to you, Mr. Shaw. Oh, Garth, you said I must call you.
Thanks, Tandwa, and thank you to you and your team. Well done on putting this together. I really do think it's a fitting celebration of a great person. Yeah, I think as headmaster of Dale College, it's an honour for me to be able to greet you on behalf of the school and to say a few words on the school's behalf. I think before I start, I'd like to personally express my condolences again to the Ntunja family. Tando, Mama Ntunja, Kaunda's passing on top of that of a Tata and uncle and aunt that I'm aware of. This must be one of the most devastating times for you as a family, and please know that this has devastated us as a school. But we aware that the pain that we bear does not compare to that which you carry, and please know that you're in our thoughts and prayers. And then Aviwe, if I may, especially. And I say this as a young father myself with a young family. I want you to know that I'm carrying you and your little ones, and especially with the baby coming, especially in my thoughts and prayers in this time. I wish there was more that we could do to support you in this time. And I want to say, if there is anything that we can do, please don't hesitate to call. All right. I think in bringing tribute to Kaunda, it was special for me to be able to sit and think about who Kaunda was and what he has represented to Dale College. And I think I'd like to bring honour to his name in 3 different aspects. The first of those is in the light of the Dalian that Kaunda was. You'll see I'm wearing this rugby jersey similar to what Nick was wearing. It comes from the same era, although I was on the other end of the rugby field. Yeah, I mean, other than Kaunda tackling me very hard once that I can remember when I tried to pick up and drive on the Dale College line in 2000, I obviously didn't know Kaunda very well from his school days, but it's been a huge privilege for me to be able to connect with some of his old teachers and rugby coaches over the last and fellow learners, fellow Dalians over the last week or so. And the fondness and love with which they have all recounted stories has been tangible to me, and it's very clear that Kaunda was a special Dalian during his time at Dale College. Some of the words that have been used to describe Kaunda include respectful, dignified, fun, loud, never-ending, hard-working. One member of staff said a true Dalian. I won't say who it was, but he said it's not a scabenga like the kids of today. But yeah, it was just great for me to hear some of these stories, and interesting to chat to both Mr. Nzima and Mr. Adam, who was still at the school and taught him, during his time. They both spoke of Kaunda's love for a debate and the fact that he would never just accept things the way that they are. And this is beautiful, and I want to say this, and I say it to the kids, you've got to ask questions. We need more of this in South Africa and at Dale College. People who don't just accept the status quo, but interrogate things. And for me, that's a beautiful legacy of who Kaunda was. Mike Wesson, his rugby coach over a number of years at school, recounted many special memories. I had a lovely conversation with him, and just great memories he has of working with Kaunda. And he spoke especially of Kaunda's ability to weld a team together. I think he coached him 3 years through school, but then also he spoke about coaching at under 21 level at the Sharks. And the story, what I pick up from the story is that Kaunda joined the team, I'm assuming a couple of weeks into the season. But what's really significant is how Kaunda's presence and him joining the team really turned around the trajectory of that season. And this is poignant for me. In South Africa, we desperately need people who have the ability and the skill to weld together people from different walks of life in our divided society. And through talking to Mike, it was apparent to me that Kaunda had the leadership skills and the personality and the ability to do that. And it's important to me that the Dalians of today can do that. And Kaunda clearly personified that skill. The second thing I'd like to say, from the school's perspective, is about the role model that Kaunda was. Obviously, the legacy that Kaunda has left behind from his time at Dale College marks him as a powerful role model. The hardworking achiever he was. He will live on in Dale College folklore, his name on the honours board, his photo, the legacy of the player he was. But I think it's important to say that there's a more powerful legacy, and I'd like to draw on that. We all know about the impact his commentary has had in South Africa and around the world, and Robert also addressed this. The impact Kaunda had on the young black rugby player in South Africa. And I want to recount the story. One of the Dalians I spoke to has professional ambitions, and he said to me, "Sir, I dream of Uzizi one day giving me a nickname like he gave Apulele Fassi, the nickname Weekend Special." And it's so good for me to hear the story from one of the Dalians I'm very close to. Kaunda was unique. He was proud of who he was, and he was willing to be an individual, and he was true to himself. And this is what we need, in terms of the role model that he was. He was able to hang up his boots from his professional rugby career and go and follow his passion of drama. Someone who had the persona to infiltrate the supersport structures and the TVs of people around the world and say, "I'm Xhosa and I'm proud of it." I feel I need to say this. What has devastated me almost more than anything else is, was the role model that Kaunda was to black kids around the world. And this is as well what Robert was saying. Here was an example of why Black Lives Matter, and his inspiration to those kids in particular at Dale College and elsewhere will be hugely missed. And then I think the third thing to say regarding Kaunda was about the servant that he was to Dale College, and Nick touched on this as well. The last time that I was in contact with Kaunda was on the weekend of what was meant to be our reunion this year, his 20-year reunion. We shared some banter about when we played each other in 2000, but he also updated me on the progress for the donations that he was rallying up for the renovation of Frank Joubert Hostel. And Kaunda was a servant. He wanted to give back to his alma mater, and this is an invaluable legacy to us. Not only for the financial contribution, but again, it role models that servant heart that he had to future generations of Dalians. This ties into what I was saying earlier. Kaunda knew where he came from, and he remembered that. And for me, that's a beautiful character trait, and one which we as a school cherish. He was willing to use his aura and his position to rally support, but then also to put his money where his mouth was, and to lead by example. I think we know Kaunda will be missed. His legacy will remain, and we need to find ways to commemorate his name in an appropriate way. And that's an exciting challenge for us at Dale College. How can we keep the memory of who Kaunda was, and keep that special. So in closure, thank you, Tondo and team, for putting this together. It's been special for me to follow it. And I want to say thank you to everybody listening in here. Thank you to those who've played a role in making Kaunda the person he was, the blessing he was to all of us in South Africa and at Dale College. And then lastly, obviously, condolences again to the Ntunja family. Our hearts and our prayers are with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Garth. I did say earlier I wasn't going to say anything, but so I must say a few things. I think your comments around "I am black" and I'm proud of it really resonate, and I think Kaunda lived those ideals. He really was the freedom fighter in my mind. Fought for people's rights to be who they are. and the whole emotional settlement, which is really not complete post 94. Kaunda was that kind of person, and I really want to echo your words. Of course, it's not just him. I think there were countless teachers along the way who, against status quo, because not all teachers when we were there were as woke as you are. I won't mention names in case I sort of offend Mr. Clark and the guys, but you know, Mr. Butler used to wake us up in class. I remember I was 11, 12, joining junior school, and this headmaster was like, Vugani, and you know, I really think he fought, and I don't think he really deserves the credit that he deserved. Of course, now, you know, 26 years later, we realize what he was trying to achieve, but at that time, I think he was an outcast and an outlier. And the other point which you made, which really touched me, was the whole idea that Kaunda was a leader, but Kaunda could also lead from the back. You know, he could support something else that he thought was worthwhile. You know, he wasn't always wanting to be in the spotlight. And I shared a story earlier about him supporting not me, but Warren and a few other guys who, after he lost the captaincy, not lost it, but I think we realized that he'd rather focus on his game. Or at least that's what the coach said. But he really supported everyone wholeheartedly, and I think that was great point that you made there. I think it does present. His legacy does present an opportunity for not just the school but for society to realize and appreciate him for who he is. I think he's right up there with the Dale legend, whether it's Langam or C.B. Jennings, and really I would hope the school would recognize him in due course. And lastly, last time I was there, I looked at the school hymn, and I was any Kwicho in the school hymn. There were old school war cries, but and whatever, but the Kwicho, and I would hope that there as well. So thanks for your address. I really appreciate that, and I think everyone who's listening and will listen in the future, because there will be a recording, will learn and pick up a few things from what you've said.